Welcome to the Retro Video Store Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to the Retro Video Store Podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
And that's my co-host, Neil.
I'm Neil, and who suffered through this film with us this week?
Dave did. Thank you, Eric.
David, I'm glad you got to sit through this movie.
Yeah, me too.
There's one blade on for each of us on that sword to open up a vein with.
You know, it's been a while. We've been doing some mainstream movies, movies that people have actually seen and maybe people actually care about. It was about time we got back to our roots and watched a shitty movie with a low budget that was surprisingly popular for its for its time. We're talking about The Sword and the Sorcerer from 1982. I watched this movie twice. Gentlemen, I watched this movie twice this week.
Nobody's twisting your arm to do this. You're choosing to do this.
Yeah.
This was another example of a kick-ass VHS box that did not hold the same promise on the inside.
Oh, absolutely. Totally agree with you on that one. This movie was bad, but I don't know if it was so bad it's good or just bad.
I hope I never see this again.
It's frozen pizza. This is a frozen pizza. You want pizza, you can't get it, so you have a frozen pizza. It's not great, but it's still, it's kind of pizza.
Yeah. But hey, before we jump into this shitty movie, let's do what we always do. Let's start with David. David, what'd you watch this week?
Eric, I didn't watch anything, but I see that in the text yesterday we were talking about you watched Thanksgiving, and I forgot that I watched Thanksgiving a couple weeks ago when I was sick.
What'd you think of it?
I liked it.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it's cheesy, but it was bloody as hell. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It came out on Netflix this week, so on Saturday, so I watched it and really enjoyed it. But let's talk about Neil. Neil, what did you watch this week?
2 movies I watched. The Outpost. And that was really good. That was recommended. I've got a friend who's a Marine, and he was actually, I think, the group that came in and took the base back over after it had got overrun. As he was saying, it was probably one of, like the best depictions of what it was like over there. So, I tuned in just to kind of have a little frame of reference with him. And then I watched Hellraiser Judgment.
Really? Which number is that in the line of Hellraiser movies?
I don't know. I was looking around on Tubi, and there was the Walmart pinhead that we have seen before, and this was called Hellraiser Judgment. And it was interesting. It had some of the visuals were really, man, it's just hard to put words for this movie. It was okay-ish. There, we'll just do that. It was okay-ish.
Okay, so here is the series in order from the original Hellraiser series. Hellraiser from 87, Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, 88, Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, 92, Hellraiser Bloodline in 96, Hellraiser Inferno in 2000, Hellraiser Hellseeker 2002, Hellraiser Deader, that's really original name, Deader, Hellraiser Hellworld in 2005, so there was 2 of them in 2005, Hellraiser Revelations in 2011, Hellraiser Judgment in 2018. I had no idea there were so many Hellraiser movies.
There was one in there I did not recognize, because I like me some Hellraiser movies. Not as good as the remake that was on Netflix.
Hulu.
On Hulu. That one was really good. I like their take on the Cenobites for that. This one was okay-ish.
Which one was with the fat pinhead? The one like the fridge. You opened it. We came.
I think that was the one that was before Judgment. The one you read before that. That was Walmart pinhead.
Yeah, great value pinhead.
Yeah.
So what was the plot basically in that one?
Cenobites are trying to find new ways to kind of look at people because, the lament configuration is old and people can basically pervert themselves electronically any way they want to now. And then they introduce this guy, he like questions people, and when you're sort of stuck in hell, and Cenobites that don't look like Cenobites, it's different sorts of demons. It's okayish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
I have a feeling you're being very generous towards it.
It was it was on. I would kind of do some stuff and come back and watch it, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting. There's a demon that ate a man's confession seasoned with children's tears and then vomited into a sink, and then we watch it.
Jesus Christ.
We watch it go. We watch it go down and then through a wall and then come out the other side, and then there's things done with it, and then there's detectives. Yeah, it's okayish.
All right. Well, my interest is piqued, but I'd have to catch up with the series because I've only watched 1, 2, and 3. I have not watched any of the others.
Did you watch the Hulu?
No, I have not watched the Hulu one yet. I heard it's good, though. I've watched it.
If I was in Colorado right now, I would go right over to your home and I would slap you in the face. You need to see. You need to see that.
Okay, I'll check it out.
That one's pretty good.
I have a lot more time on my hands now that football season's over, so I'm watching a lot more movies. So yeah,
I didn't realize you'd nicknamed that thing A Lot More Time.
So, my hands, yes.
Dave got the joke. He was laughing. So, Eric, what did you watch?
I watched. Jamie and I were looking for something to watch on Friday, and we couldn't really come to an agreement. So we were just surfing all over Netflix to find something to watch. We wound up watching Sausage Party.
Yeah, you texted me.
Which I had not seen yet.
That's a classic.
I can't believe you missed it, man. It's great.
I know, because it's so stupid, but we really laughed a lot during it. And we're just like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And I'm just thinking to myself, how many parents accidentally put that movie on for their kids because it looks like it's like, oh, it's talking food. Let's put this on for people. And there's a whole food orgy at the end of the, at the end of the movie, and it's
donut just, and the hot dog, and it just
and the bagel, this whole just food orgy. But I thought it was funny. It was just it was fun. An hour and a half. It was worth checking out.
How high was Seth Rogen when he came up with that? And they wrote that. He really, really high.
And how high were the executives that said, yeah, that sounds good. Let's give you some, millions of dollars to make this movie.
Let's make this. Yeah.
He took him over to his house. They hotboxed the whole place. They agreed to it.
Yeah, it was entertaining. I can't believe I hadn't stayed away from it for so long, and that it was pretty entertaining. I'll have to send you guys a link. I watched somebody compiled like an hour's worth of 1980s horror movie trailers, and they did a really good job of curating a really good group of horror movie trailers. So I watched that. I watched an ungodly amount of making of stuff for this movie. I don't know why. There is a lot of the Sword and the Sorcerer making of stuff or critical stuff about people talking about it.
Where'd you find that?
YouTube.
You took a deep dive on YouTube just to see the making of all movies. This movie,
yes,
you got no, seriously. Yeah. Wait, hold on.
Yeah,
Dave and I both are having the same thought. You've got a fucking problem.
It's dedication to the podcast.
No, it's not dedication. Of all the things that you could have been researching, this movie can just be taken at face value. Like my wife was reading trivia about the film as we're watching it. And I just part of me is like, no, there's really no need. There's no need. Not for this movie of all things.
But getting back to what I watched, I also watched Thanksgiving that like David said earlier. It was good. It was fun, gory slasher movie. A little bit of a Scream-like whodunit part to it, even though I figured out who did it really easily in the, but halfway through the movie, I'm like, well, I don't want to spoil it, but it's pretty obvious, but it was fun. It was a nice little comment on consumerism, and there were some really good kills. It was funny. Had those kind of weird Eli Roth touches that, when the guy gets impaled by the float and the two kids are sitting in the truck and they get splashed blood. There's just weird little things that kind of extend out that are really funny. And I really enjoyed it. I think it's probably the best thing he's ever done. as far as like sit down and watch and enjoy for a
What?
movie from him.
Better than Cabin Fever?
Yeah, better than Cabin Fever. We've watched Cabin Fever. We know it's not great. It's fun, but it's not great. But this one was good. I enjoyed it.
Well, see, now I got to watch Thanksgiving, and I just got Paramount Plus, man, and I've just been like watching all sorts of series, not movies, but series. And now I'm gonna have to stop and watch a movie in between all that.
Yeah, it just came out this Saturday on Netflix. It premiered, so it's really good. It's fast, and it's like an hour and 46 minutes, which is good. There's a lot of good kills, a lot of gore. It's pretty good. I was like not disappointed in it all. I was like, this is a pretty good throwback slasher movie. I was watching a kind of a making of, or like a critical thing about it, and its plot structure is almost exactly the same as My Bloody Valentine, where there's a city that is dedicated to a holiday a little bit, like Valentine, the city in My Bloody Valentine. There's a love triangle, so things like that. So it's very similar in structure to the original My Bloody Valentine, which is a nice, mean little slasher film from the 80s with good kills. Yeah, made me want to watch more horror movies, so I'm kind of in the mood for some mean-spirited gore and stuff.
You could be walking across a parking lot on Christmas Day, and there could be like a plastic bag that just sort of like gets caught in the wind and taken underneath a car, and you're like, you know what? I would really like to watch some more horror movies. You could be at the hospital, one of your best friends watching the birth of their child, and you're like, you know what? That reminds me, I think I need to watch some more horror movies. That's your natural state of being, my man. Horror movies.
Speaking of horror movies in the hospital, my stepdad was in the hospital a few years ago. He had a heart surgery, and I was in the hospital room with him, and I probably made him watch Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. It was on. We were like, hey, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 is on. You want to watch this? He watched it. But let's talk about The Sword and the Sorcerer from 1982.
How's the weather out there in Utah, Dave?
It's cold.
Oh man, like how cold? Like is it like a biting cold, kind of dry, a little bit moist? Is it the wind? There's probably a lot of factors. Kind of how's it actually feel? Just let us know. Tell us about the weather out there.
You don't want to know because you're just dying to hear about this movie. I see what you're doing right now, Neil. You've never cared before, so now all of a sudden you care. I caught on to you.
This movie was so bad. The special effects were awful. The fighting choreography was terrible. The costumes were laughable. The wigs were terrible.
Oh God, the wigs.
It was just so bad. But yet I actually enjoyed it. Well, the first time I watched it twice. I think I watched it on Wednesday, and I was not in the mood for a shitty horror movie, movie. So I just kind of like watched it, and I was irritated, and I was kind of looking through my phone, and just didn't. I just kind of got the highlights of it, and I'm like, oh man, I just don't want to do this movie. And then I watched it again on Saturday, and I was a little bit more in the mood for it, and I enjoyed it a lot better when I watched it on Saturday morning when I was making notes, and it cracked me up a few times, and I was noticing all the flaws and just how awful it was. And it was more fun, but I had to be in the right mindset to watch it. The first time I was like, God damn, this movie sucks. It really it was a chore. I was like, God, why do we watch it? Why did I pick this movie? But it was more fun the second time.
Because this would have been really, really entertaining to us as kids, sitting watching TV and renting this at the video place. I got to say, I was really like my memory of this, of course, was a lot different from the actuality of it. But I just remember sitting there the whole movie and my wife looking at me going, where's the boobs? This is an 80s movie with swords and armor and stuff. There's no boobs. And then finally, when he drops into the middle of the harem, it took almost the whole movie to get that. And that was an 80s film. Super disappointing.
And I agree with you because I saw this as a kid, must have rented it. And for me, I thought it was just wall-to-wall boobs. I just remembering it being way more sexed up as a kid than I watched it when I watched this movie. I'm like, what the hell? This movie is not what I imagined it to be. I was disappointed when it came to the adult content, the content that I was looking forward to. I was pretty disappointed. What the fuck? Neil, when did you first watch this?
So I caught this on video, and I maybe 83, 84, because I remember I was probably like sixth grade when I first saw this. So did not see this one in the theaters.
David, when did you see this?
Probably sometime in the 80s. And then I think the second time I've ever seen it was today. I have regrets.
This was a rental with my dad on the weekend, and I think we went to the movie barn or whatever, and I remember us getting a big old sleeve of 7-Eleven popcorn and like a 6-pack of Coke, sitting on the couch and watching this movie. And my dad would always cover our eyes if boobs were on TV. He would let us watch people get killed in the most insane ways and stuff like that. But if there was boobs, he would like, oh no, he would like reach out and like try to cover our eyes. But my sister and I would always like move our head, and say like, what are you watching? We would wanted to see the boobs, but he would always try to cover our hands, our faces with it, and that just made it even. I think maybe that's why I thought the movie was way more sexed up than I remembered it, because I just remember my dad going, "Oh no, like why did I rent this?" Kind of regretting it.
That really is interesting though, because my parents would do the same thing, but it was with like cursing and it was with nudity, and I'm like, all the things that are going to mess you up as a kid. Is it seeing like human life like so cheap and people murdered and maimed and life just disrespected in so many ways, or a pair of boobs?
Yeah. This is a tangent, but it is not really a tangent. It goes back to B movies and watching with my dad. We went to the Tota Theater and watched a movie called Galaxy of Terror, right? And it is a Roger Corman movie. We'll have to do it sometime as we, when we pick up a bad movie to watch. And there's this scene where this lady gets sexually assaulted by a giant space maggot. And I remember my dad just reaching across the chairs to cover our eyes, because this her clothes get stripped off and this just space worm is all over and he's covering her with goop, and he's like, oh, and I just remember him doing that, and it just reminds me of him trying to edit this movie for us.
Dude, there were so many people in that movie. Dude, Joni from Joni and Chachi was in that. Ray Walston was in that.
Sid Haig was in that movie, and Freddy Krueger himself was in that movie. Robert Englund was in that as well.
Sid Haig topped at Captain Spaulding, but I mean, he had to start somewhere.
And James Cameron did the special effects, so that's why everything looks. I mean, like the special effects are way better than a Roger Corman movie should be. But that brings us back to the central, kind of one of the core tenets of this podcast is watching these old watching these movies that were very memorable in the video store days, and you never knew what you were going to get. You could get Beastmaster, which was a movie that was pretty much beloved by most people, even though it was cheesy as hell. And then this movie, which is more fondly remembered than when you watch it now, you're like, God, this sucks. But as a kid, you're like, man, remember the guy had the 3-bladed sword and it would launch at people, man? That was fucking awesome.
He did like twice.
Yes, exactly. But in my mind as a kid, talking to your friends in the playground going, man, the sword and the sorcerer is awesome. It's just nothing but boobs and sword play. And it's only about 5 minutes of boobs and sword play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Way more disappointing to watch it now and just see it. And you're like, man, this wasn't at all what I imagined it to be. But can you read us the Internet Movie Database tagline?
A mercenary with a 3-bladed sword rediscovers his royal heritage's dangerous future when he is recruited to help a princess foil the designs of a brutal tyrant and a powerful sorcerer in conquering a land. Yep, that's what I got to say about
If
that.
only the movie was as good as the description. This is the first movie directed by Albert Pyun, Pyun. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. He is a prolific exploitation filmmaker, and we'll go over his filmography. And there's a lot of them. The Sword of the Sorcerer was his first movie in 1982. Then he did a movie called Radioactive Dreams in 1985, starring Michael Dudikoff. Then he did a movie called Dangerously Close, where it came in 1986. I remember the Smithereens had a video for Blood and Roses that was tied to this movie, where these teens are getting hunted down by rich people in this weird, like, fascist state. Then he did Alien from LA, Cyborg with Jean-Claude Van Damme. He directed the awful 1990 Captain America movie. Have you ever seen any clips of that, Neil?
Yes, yeah. It's
so bad. He did Blood Match, Kickboxer 2, Doll Man, with Tim Thomerson as the 13-inch like guy with the science fiction. I remember seeing that on Sci-Fi. Brain Smasher Love Story, starring Andrew Dice Clay. Kickboxer 4. Yeah, he made a lot of shitty movies all the way up until 2017. And I think he passed away back in 2022. At the age of 69, he died. So he was responsible for lining the bottom shelves of many a video store. So rest in peace, Albert Pyun.
For all that you've done.
But he got to live out his dream, right? He probably always wanted to do this. So maybe his movies are never really highly rated. But he got to, he died doing what he loved.
Exactly.
There's my moment
awesome.
of positive. Yeah, it's about as positive as I'm going to fucking get on this thing today.
No, that's good, David, because, he probably had visions of being a really great director, but he was relegated to the B movies, but he made a lot of them. He probably had a good time, probably enjoyed what he was doing. And a lot of people remember The Sword and the Sorcerer fondly. It was actually a pretty big hit, released on April 23rd of 1982, 1 month before Conan the Barbarian, which Neil and I were talking about this before we started recording, is that there's a lot of similarity in content in both these movies, but of course Conan done about 1,000 times better than this movie.
Yeah, Talon was a very interesting character.
Yes.
It's like they wanted him to be like Errol Flynn and Indiana Jones, all sort of wrapped up into one. Always got that little look on his face like, hey, how's it going?
Always trying to pick up on the ladies, always trying, getting themselves in bad situations. And then,
yeah. Not that great at fighting, but he can parkour like a mother trucker. Got a 3-bladed sword that really doesn't work for shit that somehow they want to reforge at the end of the movie, even though it was pretty damn worthless.
Oh, yeah. David, did you have something?
I felt like watching this, I got Conan vibes, and for some reason I got Star Wars. I got a couple Star Wars vibes about the thing. Is I think when some of the sword play, when they're, like it was glowing occasionally, and then the weird, you said the dad bod demon guy at the beginning or whatever that you're going to talk about, but
yeah,
he had his weird little like force push things, or he was like doing stuff with his hands. I'm like, isn't that if Darth Vader was a demon? It's the same fucking thing.
Oh, and the glowy fingernails. Let's throw E.T. in that as well.
Right. Yeah, you unoriginal bastards.
So starred Lee Horsley as Prince Talon, and I did not remember who Lee Horsley was until Neil had mentioned that his mom was a fan of Lee Horsley.
Yep. She was super disappointed in this movie that he didn't have his mustache, because I guess that was a prerequisite for my mom, along with Magnum P.I., Lee Horsley, Sam Elliott, all those guys.
Yeah, he that That was Matt Houston was the name of the show, and I'm dropping in a nice picture of Matt Houston here. You can send that to your mom if you like.
Send that to your mom.
Send this picture to your mother, and it's a picture of him with his mustache, his perfectly feathered hair, and he's standing shirtless with a horse. So,
let's see this. Where is it?
Plenty of ladies probably enjoyed Matt Houston. As Spinal Tap says, not a dry seat in the house. So he was in The Sword and the Sorcerer. He was in a movie called Unlawful Passage, Nightmare Man, Showdown at Area 51. And then he was in Django Unchained and The Hateful Eight. So he had a little bit of that Tarantino magic sprinkled on him because I bet you Quentin must have been a fan of Matt Houston or something. He was in a ton of TV. Nero Wolfe, Wild Women of Chastity Gulch, The Love Boat. Matt Houston for 3 years. Paradise, Bodies of Evidence. The Corpse Has a Familiar Face. It's a TV movie. The Snowy River movie. TV show called Hawkeye. And Touched by an Angel. Wow. It's a lot of TV work for Matt. A lot of the people in this movie were famous from TV. Simon McCorkindale. Anybody?
Oh my God. This was just... It was a who's who. I didn't even know some of these guys' names, but I just looked at them and like, I used to watch you on TV. I used to watch you on TV, and I used to watch you on TV. Like the bald guy that he's hanging is like his right hand man who you only see like twice in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that. Like I've seen that guy on I don't know how many damn shows.
Yeah, so the cast was filled with TV regulars, and of course Titus Cromwell, our bad guy, was played by bad guy stalwart Richard Lynch, who was in a ton of movies. You always remember him because he's got the kind of a burnt face. And of course, he was in a lot of, he was in Chuck Norris movie, of course. He was in Invasion USA as Mikhail Rostov, the bad guy that would put his pistol in somebody's pants and just shoot your dick off at random times. That was his punishment.
I know. I just wonder that if these guys, they were thinking like, you know what, I'm going to play this fight scene up really well. But he did one of the, and I'm going to talk about it because as soon as you said it, it was just so damn bad. So they look like they're on a high school play set, right? They're down in like the dungeon or something. And all he's got is like, he's got like a cheerleader baton, like a big cheerleader baton in his hand. And he just hunkers over and he does one of these. Come here. Gestures with his hand. You know what I'm talking about? And then pops the guy in the stomach and then boom, fight's over.
Yeah, that's what he did do. What's his name? Micah, the heir to the self-proclaimed heir to the throne. He took him out like a bitch by just hitting him in the stomach with his baton.
Yeah, and it wasn't Manimal? Wasn't he the guy from Manimal?
I think Simon McCorkindale, yes, was from Manimal. Okay.
And what was the one show about the guy that had the suit that he was paralyzed and he laid down in the machine and it basically...
Oh my God, I know what you're talking about.
It panini'd him into like a super suit.
Yes, and I remember that as a kid, and I'll have to look it up. But man, that stuck with me for my entire life. It was on late night.
Same here.
As a kid, because it was basically like Iron Man. The guy was paralyzed, but he would put himself in that super suit. And that was an amazing movie. We'll have to look it up and see what it was. But it was, and he could only be in the suit for a certain, like maybe 30 minutes or something like that. It was some sort of like, there was a time limit to it, but that's how he got his revenge on people. Yeah, I'll have to remember that, what it was. But going back to Richard Lynch, he was in Death Sport, The Ninth Configuration, Sword and the Sorcerer, Invasion USA, The Barbarians, Bad Dreams. He was in that horror movie. I think it was a Wes Craven movie. It was bad. So Alligator 2, The Mutation, Trancers, Puppet Master 3, Scanner Cop. He was in a lot of crap. But like David said, these people are living their dreams as actors and producers and directors and stuff. Being in all these low budget movies, they're having a hell of a time, but they're working. They're doing their craft. Maybe not in the greatest movies, but they're still working.
Okay, don't look this up. It'll destroy your childhood. It's called Exo Man.
Yes, Exo Man.
Don't look it up.
Mm-hmm.
Do not look it up. It will ruin your childhood because you remember it fondly. You're going to look it up and you're going to wonder what the hell was wrong with us.
No, it was like an awkward like scuba suit thing, that he was in. It was not very cool looking.
Yeah, don't look it up. I'm telling you right now, don't do it.
Okay, so Richard Lynch was also in a shitload of TV. Streets of San Francisco, Battlestar Galactica, Vegas, Starsky and Hutch, Buck Rogers. So he was in Battlestar Galactica and Buck Rogers. Charlie's Angels, Starsky and Hutch, Galactica 1980, Vegas, The Fall Guy, Blue Thunder, A-Team, Airwolf, Blue Thunder and Airwolf, Werewolf, Hunter, Star Trek's The Next Generation, Murder, She Wrote, Highlander, the series, Mike Hammer, Private Eye, Battlestar Galactica, The Second Coming, and Charmed. So he was in a shitload of TV shows. Man, that's a career. Speaking of Charlie's Angels, and I don't know if David can contribute to this. Who was your favorite Charlie's Angel, David? Were you too young for Charlie's Angels? David, are you there?
He's just staring blankly at the screen.
David,
sorry, I hit mute. I was coughing, but I heard the Charlie's Angels talk. Stand
favorite
by.
Charlie's Angel.
Let me tell you, the 70s Charlie's Angels are not the shitty remake. Yeah, hold on.
70s.
Keep talking. I'll look it up.
All right. Richard Lynch died in 2012. So, yeah. Rest in peace, Richard Lynch. He was in a lot of stuff. Let's talk about another Richard who's in this movie. Richard Mall is Zusha, the demon, the sorcerer of the title of this movie. Also, Bull from Night Court.
Night Court, that's right. If he's going to be anything, you got to remember him as Bull from Night Court.
I used to love Night Court. I haven't watched any of like the remake, but I remember Night Court.
Night Court.
Night Court was a solid sitcom. John Larroquette, Harry Shearer, Marky Post, of course, and Richard Mall. Man, Richard Mall was in a lot of B movies. Evil Speak with Clint Howard and his haunted computer. Metal Storm, the direction of Jared Sin. Oh my god!
Oof, yeah, that's one. That one was an often renter in my home.
The Dungeon Master from 1984. Night Train to Terror. House. I remember House. He was in that one. Sidekicks. Oh, Chuck Norris movie. Loaded Weapon 1. The Flintstones. Jingle All the Way. Casper. Casper Meets Wendy. Bolt Neck. Scary Movie 2, huh? I don't remember in that one. Angel Blade. Yeah, he was in a lot of stuff, not just Sorority Party Massacre. Kids versus Monsters. So, yeah. He was in a shitload of stuff. It's kind of fun to look at all these people that were in this movie and this is how they made their living being in these B movies. But yeah, it was kind of cool. All right, David, can you report with your favorite Charlie Angels? You're muted again.
Sorry, I started coughing again. I'm ready. I've got my Charlie's Angels, Jacqueline Smith.
Jacqueline Smith, huh? All right.
Well, don't have
choice.
What the fuck? Hold on. Tell me who you like.
No, she's pretty hot. I'm going to say, yeah. Neil, did you have a favorite Charlie's Angel?
First,
Lucy Liu.
Lucy Liu. Okay, you're pulling from the new people?
Oh, yeah. Pulling from the new. Lucy Liu.
What?
I would not have.
You can pick a new one if you want, David.
No, you told me it had to be an old one.
Go ahead with the new.
Lucy Liu.
Lucy Liu. All right, to Lucy Liu.
And if it hadn't been for Andre 3000, I wouldn't even thought about that.
For all the Beyonce's
Lucy Liu's. That's right.
Cheryl Ladd all the way. Cheryl Ladd. She was my
Let's
first
see what
TV
she-
crush.
You've mentioned her before. Let's take a look at her.
Hold on. I got a picture queued up for you. Compelling.
Don't take that
Compelling
Cheryl.
podcasting.
Don't take that Cheryl Ladd photo out of your special folder.
There we go. Yeah, here we go. Cheryl Ladd. It's kind of a big picture. Anyway. Yeah.
I don't know if Dave should be a little bit disturbed since you are married to his sister that he's seeing your type.
Yeah.
I just ignore it.
You
Yeah.
better. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be the only way to keep yourself sane talking to this guy on a regular basis.
I'm trying to remember. I know you've brought her up before, Eric. What was the big deal in the 80s or 90s that she did for you?
Well, she was in, obviously, in the Charlie's Angels, but she was also a lot on Circus of the Stars and Battle of the Network Stars and things like that as a kid. And then, her daughter was Jordan Ladd, who was in Cabin Fever. She's the girl who got eaten by the dogs and
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Cabin Fever. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, do you want to hit us with a critical response?
Yeah, not a whole lot here. So strange.
No, there is not.
The film grossed $39,103,425 at the box office, making it the most profitable independent film of 1982. It even spawned a short-lived production line of three-bladed plastic swords in resemblance to talons. Variety gave the film a negative review, citing its lackluster script, lack of acting, and fast-paced, atrocity-a-minute action scenes. Similarly, the New York Times described it as nonsensical and inept, and Roger Ebert gave it half a star, describing it as an identikit movie, which doesn't care much about character. After this criticism, the film became a cult classic and is regarded as one of Pune's best. The film review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes reported that 67% of critics gave the film a positive review based on 12 reviews, with an average rating of 6.10 of 10, making it Pune's highest rated film to date. Arco Toys, in conjunction with Fleetwood Toys, made a number of monster figures that included the logo of the film, including a winged man with the head of a lion and a man with the head of a cobra, which would have made the film a lot cooler had they been
exactly if they had anything like that in the movie. So there is a Siskel and Ebert video on YouTube of them reviewing the movie, and surprising, Gene Siskel gave it a thumbs up and Roger gave it a thumbs down. And I'm like, Gene Siskel, who's usually more of a prude and a fuddy-duddy than Roger Ebert is, gave the movie a thumbs up, which totally surprised me. I was kind of shocked.
I'd be interested to hear why.
Yeah, he liked the production values, and he liked that there was a little bit of humor in the movie, that people didn't take themselves very seriously. If I remember him quoting him saying that, that's why he liked it. That Talon was a little bit more self-referential than the other heroes. But Talon was a dipshit.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, so let's talk about
this guy Talon is doomed to just get shanked in the hand over and over again as a kid and as an adult. That man can take a shot in the hand and still use his hands, which is still pretty amazing.
Yeah, he can brush off a crucifixion like nobody else's business.
Yeah.
He can teach Jesus a thing or two about brushing off a crucifixion.
Don't give that man any M&Ms to hold.
Hey, especially at the end when she's like, "Don't you have something to do?" And that's like, all I could think of was like, what about this bloody fucking hands with these giant holes in them?
Tetanus shot, some bandages, something.
Exactly. Waiting for the infection to rise.
I got stabbed through the hand in 8th grade with a big ass carving knife in Mr. Rink's art class. And I got to tell you, the last thing I felt like doing was going right back to class and sculpting some more. We went straight to the emergency room. I couldn't use my hand for almost 3 weeks.
You just brought up a memory of Mr. Rink's class for me. 2 memories.
Let's hear them.
We were supposed to carve something out of a little piece of, I can't remember what it was, like granite or something,
Soapstone.
Soapstone, yes. And I couldn't think of anything because I am inept when it comes to creating anything like drawing or sculpting or anything like that. So I thought I'd do a chess piece and it wound up looking like a prototype butt plug. And the benefit of hindsight. And I didn't even finish it. He was like, "What are you making?" I'm like, "A chess piece." He's like, "Okay, okay." I got a C, so I was okay. But the second thing I remember, as they had a sink in the back of the art class, and it had one of the little sprayers, like, little pressure sprayers. So I put a rubber band around the sprayer, thinking that I was going to prank one of my classmates.
Did you get rank?
Yes, I got rank. And I remember him, he was like, "God damn it, you guys are screwing around too much." And I felt so bad.
There's that weird caged area, like right next to that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I did.
Right.
That came back to bite me because I took an X-Acto blade and I I glued it to a piece of cardboard and I stuck it in my shirt and then started screaming. There was another dude in the class. We were always screwing around. And then Rank saw that and just absolutely just flipped shit because I had stabbed myself through the hand trying to catch a blade as it fell off. Because he had those tilted tables.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I got swats for that. Thanks, Mr. Beckstead.
I think I got SWATs too, not in because of that, but like 7th grade or something for fighting.
That was so great. They didn't call your parents. They just took you to the office. They physically assaulted you because that's the way to teach you to not hurt people is to hurt you.
Yeah, they just beat the shit out of you.
And just beat the shit out of you. And then, okay, cool. I just get to go home. I love it.
Well, I remember another kid stole my wallet or something like that. I didn't have anything in there, but he stole it, and he wasn't going to give it back to me, so I punched him in the face and got my wallet back. And then the teacher caught me punching him in the face, and then so I got SWATs. Didn't get suspended, didn't get anything like that, just SWATs. That's how they dealt with you back then. Yeah. All right, let's talk about the movie.
Days. Yeah, let's talk about this shitty movie.
For a movie called The Sword and the Sorcerer, there isn't much of either swords or the sorcerer.
There's a lot of parkour.
Yes, lots of parkour.
There's a lot of guys that can get knocked out by taking a shot to the arm, like a punch to the arm.
And the opening narration made me laugh because he's like, go down into legendary. Like,
yes, okay, that got you too.
Down into legendary. Like legendary?
I honestly thought he said legendary.
Yeah, I thought so too. And I had to actually Google the legendary, and they kept going, legendary? So, yeah, a little odd. And it's Tomb Island, not Doom Island. I thought it was Doom Island, but I was wrong. So, yeah. The wigs are awful. And Cromwell's wig looks awful, and it makes him look like the fat kid from The Sandlot. Didn't you think that?
You're killing me, Smalls.
That's what he made it look like to me. There are a couple of cool practical effects in this movie. I thought the altar with the faces on it was pretty sweet looking. And at the end, when Michelli pulls his head apart, I thought that was kind of cool looking too. And the makeup on Zusha, the original makeup at the beginning, was pretty cool as well when he's coming out of the vat, like out of the muck inside the altar. And Neil mentioned some trivia about what happened to poor Richard Mall with his contact lenses.
Damn things fused to his eyeballs.
And he had to go get them surgically taken off because the combination of the makeup, the muck on his eyes, and his contacts fused him to his eyes. So, yeah, not fun. When he pulled the innards out of that poor witch, it looked like chicken gizzards or something. I'm like, what did he pull out of her?
Psychic surgery.
Yeah, so I guess when you become a king, you have to have an Amish beard, a chin beard.
Yeah, they all did. It's just fashion. It's just the way everybody is.
Because Talon's dad had that awful beard, and then when Cromwell becomes king, he gets that beard after a while as well. Neil, you could pull it off.
I think I could.
Let's look at David. David could pull it off too. Me, not so much.
You know what? I think I'll get one of those and I'll head out to the Highland Games. I'll get my bagpipes And just out of nowhere, as we're just tootling along, and someone like, "Hey, Sword and the Sorcerer, give him one of these."
You bet.
Little finger pistol. You know it.
David mentioned before we started recording about how this movie feels incomplete. Like there's stuff that should be going on but doesn't go on. And it happens several times where you see the aftermath of a supposedly epic battle where there's bodies lying around and stuff like that, but they could not afford budget-wise to show you the epic battle. It's like, oh, this battle was terrible. And all you see these people like, ugh, and they're all dead and stuff like that. I'm like, how about you show us that epic battle? That'd been kind of cool.
Yeah. I think I was more talking about how I thought it was what we're missing is we have all the makings of a B movie and then all the eroticism of a soft porn not involved, because all the lines, it would lead up with everything they would say, like whatever, something about a shaft, like your typical porn line. And then there was no scene.
Is your sword not powerful enough? And he's like, yes, it is.
Yeah. And then the table rises, remember, like the table lifts up and she like pushes it down, and then she's like, okay, this could lead to something. And then it's like, all of a sudden, nope. No. So I feel like we got the cutting floor version.
The made for TV, the hotel edit of the porno.
Yeah. We got the hotel edit, because where's all the sex? That's what I kept thinking. Like, these are all one-liners that I would think would be in an adult film if I had ever seen one of those. Yeah.
Production quality is about adult film level. With the wigs and the costumes and stuff like that.
Yeah, the fighting.
I send you that
not fighting.
Or not fighting, yes. I sent you guys a picture that on the through our group chat of when Zusha got stabbed. His expression was hilarious. When Cromwell decides that before Zusha gets more powerful, that he's gonna kill him before so he can be the king, and. Richard Mall is really going for it when he gets stabbed. He's like, ugh, his pained expression. And then he jumps off or falls off this cliff to his death. And there is a Riff Tracks version of this movie, and I wanted to watch it, but I didn't want to watch it and get jokes from them, so I didn't watch it yet. I'll probably have to watch it later. But it's the guys from Mystery Science Theater 3000 kind of on their own, and they do Riff Tracks. So I kind of want to see it, but I don't think I could stomach the movie 3 times in a week. But yeah. So what happened to his sister? Then you never hear what happened to his sister. They got, Cromwell's like, I will treat her well or whatever, the queen's daughter, and then before they kill the queen, and then you never hear from her again. Nothing. Because she should be the rightful heir, but they never talk about it. She's never mentioned again. And part of me made me think it was Alana was his sister, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of Game of Thronesy, but it didn't.
I thought she was the sister.
No, Alana is the sister of Micah. They were the son. He was the son of the king's advisor, and since they thought Talon was dead, they thought he was the rightful heir to the throne because they thought Micah was dead. They thought Talon was dead.
I got it, Neil. Let me. I think we're both on the same page here. I don't think I paid enough attention to know exactly who was who. So I tried. There was some main characters, but all the other characters looked the same, dressed the same, acted the same. Neil, is that what
that's
you were
what
thinking?
I'm here to watch the movie and scrutinize.
Yeah. You tell us, Neil. Is that what you were thinking?
Yeah, just after a bit, I'm sitting there going like, I honestly don't know what's going on, and I don't really think it matters.
I had no clue. Yeah.
You could have walked in when I was a kid, and I could have told you like, and they went to the throne room because there was this guy there, and watching as an adult, I'm like, yeah, okay, guys. Oh, he could fight that guy with this. So he's not going to fight that guy either. Oh, there's 3 or 4 guys right there. Oh, he's going to do the Han Solo. He's going to run in and then run back. Yeah, because that's funny. That was funny the first time I saw it in fucking Star Wars. That's great. All right, cool.
Well, the first time we see Talon use the sword, you get to see the blade launch. And the blade launches at a impossible trajectory to hit anybody.
Like, yeah, it looks like it goes 3 feet. It's like the worst Nerf gun you ever got for Christmas. Like you're
the blade
expecting the thing to go
straight into
whizzing
the
across the house, and it just goes like barely across the living room.
straight into the floor.
Yeah.
So Talon kills 2 guards with the sword, and pretty much that's all we see of the sword for another hour, or even more. And you're just like, okay, the movie's called The Sword and the Sorcerer, and the cool sword that we wanted to see, we don't see it for a long, long time. And years pass, and now he's a buccaneer, a slave, a rogue, and a general. All those things.
So before he does all that, when he's a kid and he kneels down, he's just holding the sword up for no reason. He just wants some peasants walking along. Like, what the hell's this guy's problem? He just stopped here and holding the sword up in the air.
Hey, kid, you all right?
What's going on with this guy?
Zusha is still alive in his chamber of half-naked witches, which is a chamber that's pretty okay in my book.
Yeah.
Wasn't Jusha from like Brazil and have like a kid's show or something like that?
Yes, I actually added that note. Remember Jusha, the kids show with the hot blonde in the early 90s? I looked her up on Google. Doesn't really say too much about it, but it was actually an American produced show, which surprises me.
Okay.
That's one of those shows that you would be like, watching Fox Kids in the morning, and you're like, your mom's like, "Why are you watching this?" No reason.
Yeah. No particular reason.
No particular reason. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I liked McKelly's Prince Valiant haircut, the severe bangs. That's a good look. So when we see Talon, he's beating people with a haunch of meat. And his martial arts style can be best described as dodge foo. All he does is just get out of the way and let people hit themselves or trip and fall and stuff. It's not very effective. And Alana has a crotch kick for everyone. That's her go-to move. If she's in a troubled spot, she pretends to be seductive, and then she knees you in the nuts. She tries that 3 times. It only works twice.
Yeah, but I'd say two of them worked out just fine. It was that last one.
Talon wants to help her, but he wants to get paid in booty. Literally.
Yeah.
We finally get some nudity about an hour into the movie, where when Talon's swashbuckling his way around the castle, and he falls into the harem room, where we get to see fleeting nudity. It's like they remembered, hey, we're in an R-rated movie. Why don't we show some boobs? All right. Let's do that.
There was really nothing else in there to warrant an R rating.
Yeah. Really, that's it.
Because most of that for the 80s was PG. Oh, there's some guts and a guy that supposedly got tortured but just has like weird thick red streaks on his back.
And the only time I think they use their limited budget to their advantage is when all those guys get mustered up at the brothel. We're going to go help Talon. Let's go help Talon. And the next thing you know, they're all in the dungeon.
Yeah, that was
that made me laugh. That was actually using their lack of budget in a humorous way. And the rebels are always getting freed and always getting captured again, over and over and over and over. But we're here to talk about the crucifixion scene, which is freaking hilarious. They capture Talon, and Cromwell has Talon crucified in like this hall where he's going to get married to Alana. And everybody's like, hey, is that Talon, the guy who saved us? We're all free because of him. So the kings and stuff unite to help him, and then he pulls his hands out of the St. Andrew's cross
with just like 3 to 4 inches of spike into that wood.
I know.
And he could still operate his digits, and they put that thing into the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they got it in the middle, if they caught any of it over on the outside, wouldn't that have jacked it up so he couldn't?
Yeah, there's no way he would be able to.
Have been able. But he just sits there, he closes it, and he's like, "Yeah, thunk," and then
walks it off.
Yeah, walks off. Rubs some dirt in it. Holds a sword. Has a shitty sword broken. Yeah,
I just
dad's
remember
sword, great sword. Twack, done.
I just remember the trailer shot though of him swinging the triple sword and breaking all the swords of like the guards and stuff like that. Ooh, there's a trailer shot.
Well, it was like the only real time he did anything with the sword. He did more with the dagger that was stuck in the hilt of the sword than he actually did with the sword.
Yes, it was like a quadruple sword. They had the Gillette view of swords. Well, we have 3 blades. One might as well add 4 blades to the sword.
One sword lifts your neck. The other sword cuts it clean off. And the third sword comes in to make sure the job got done right.
Yes, and it has a cooling strip at the end. Yeah, so it turns out McKelly is Zusha. His head splits open, and then he makes a giant python either hump or strangle Alana. We don't know. And then Talon shoots Zusha with the sword, so you think he's out, but of course it's a movie. He's not, and he fights Cromwell, and Cromwell's got his little scepter with the sword, and he finally has this sword inside his greaves that we don't know about at all. This blade that he just conveniently uses at the end to kill Cromwell. And the end, pretty much, until Zusha pops up, and then he gets stabbed one more time.
The old jump scare at the end there.
The jump scare at the end, yeah.
Yeah.
I heard you like swords, so we put a sword inside your sword. It's the pimp my sword. Mike is the new king. He rides off, supposedly after nailing Alana, and then they're off to woo more women and have more adventures. And they were supposed to have another movie called Tales of an Ancient Empire, which eventually got made like 28 years later, and it starred Kevin Sorbo, of all people, instead of our hero from what's his name? Lee Horsley. I can't even remember his name. So
Kevin Sorbo. Oh, yeah.
Neil edited my top 10 sword and sorcerer movies of the 80s to only include Conan the Barbarian. Thanks.
You're welcome.
So that was that movie. That was it. I didn't think we were going to get an hour out of it, but we did.
Hey, the guys who are actually making the movie didn't think they'd probably get an hour out of it.
David, what are your thoughts on The Sword and the Sorcerer?
Oh, gosh. I'm sure in 1982 it was awesome. And like, what'd you say? It made $39 million at the box office? And,
yeah, off a $4 million budget.
Yeah. So in 82, it was the highest grossing independent film at the time, right?
Yeah.
I think. Was that
For 82, yes.
Yeah, for 82, it was probably great in 1982. I'm going to leave it at that. Until Conan came out a month later. And then Conan came out a month later, and people were like, oh, wait a second.
Because Beastmaster and Conan the Barbarian both came out in 82 and are far superior movies to The Sword and the Sorcerer. Neil, what are your thoughts?
Conan. I'm going to go watch Conan. I'm going to get the taste of this film out of my mouth. Conan.
The funny thing about watching Conan after watching this movie, because I watched the trailer for Conan after I watched this movie, and everything about Conan the Barbarian is superior to this movie. Everything. Music, sets, action, costumes, acting, writing, just catering was probably better. Everything is better about Conan the Barbarian. It's not even close. And that was the high water mark of sword and sorcery movies. In my top 10, and I couldn't even think of 10, I could only think of 8. Conan number 1, obviously. Legend is number 2. Beastmaster number 3. Excalibur number 4. Krull number 5. Clash of the Titans number 6. Willow number 7, and Conan the Destroyer just as an honorable mention at number 8.
You forgot the Barbarians.
Well, I did include a list of sword and sorcery movies from that era, from the 80s. Of course, you got the Conan movies. Deathstalker, which I think we should eventually do, is a shitty movie, but it's got a lot of boobs. Came out in 1983. A lone warrior named Deathstalker is sent by a witch on a quest to find a sword, a chalice, and an amulet. 2 of which are held by the Wicked King and Sorcerer. Lady Hawk. I know you've seen Lady Hawk. I have not seen it. Neil.
Lady Hawk's not a bad movie. It's more of a love story than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
The fighting and all that other stuff is very it's very secondary.
Masters of the Universe, which I don't think I've ever seen. The one with Dolph Lundgren.
Well, we got to do that one sometime.
Yeah.
But they got the strobe light. I really think they have like strobe lights on it, like the end fight scene, if I remember correctly. It was just so awful. But I think, was it Frank Langella, Skeletor?
Yes.
He had kick-ass makeup, and he sounded really good. But
Legend.
They didn't have the weird little dude with the wizard hat that floated.
Orko.
Yeah, they should have had him. That would have made this great.
This is a digression, but the Masters of the Universe toys were freaking cool. And they all came with a little comic book, the first run, and it was super gritty and kind of cool and stuff like that. And then when the cartoon came out, the cartoon was super disappointing because it was so wimpy with Prince Adam and Orko and Skeletor's voice. You know, it was just so sort of wimpy compared to the other what I thought in my mind, the way I played with the original toys. Remember Fisto? There was a guy named Fisto. Get away from me, Fisto. Red Sonja, Dragon Slayer. I know, Neil, you're a fan of Dragon Slayer. I can barely remember it.
Yeah, with Vermithrax. Giant, like, model of the dragon coming in, and pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll have to check that one out. Beastmaster, we've done an episode on. Krull, we've done an episode on. Eric the Viking, I don't even remember that one.
No, isn't that Eric the Viking? Wasn't that with like Susan Sarandon's ex-husband? Or
yeah, Tim Robbins is in it.
Tim Robbins, yeah. That's how memorable he is as an actor to me. Like, yeah, he was married to Susan Sarandon for a long time. I think that was him, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorceress, Highlander, Sword and the Sorcerer, Barbarian Queen, Fire and Ice, not seen. Hundra, I have not seen.
Hundra.
You're the Hunter from the Future, I have seen. It is
I've
crap.
seen that, yeah.
The Barbarians, The Blade Master, Gore, Conquest. Yeah. Some bad movies. But fun. Next week, we're moving into Monster March. We're going to do a bunch of monster movies in March. The first one we're going to do is Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah from 1991, which is available on Pluto TV. If you go to On Demand on Pluto TV, you can look up Godzilla. They have a lot of Godzilla movies, and Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah is one of them. So make sure it's the one from 1991. It's pretty good. It's got my favorite looking Godzilla in it. And then we're going to do, looks like, Eight-Legged Freaks, I think, is on the schedule. Lake Placid, Eight-Legged Freaks, Deep Blue Sea, and Tremors are all coming up.
Oh, Tremors. Yes, thank God.
I'm excited for Lake Placid, too. Lake Placid, Tremors. Yeah.
Yeah, so Monster March. We're going to do a lot of cool monster movies. And after that, man, we haven't really ironed it out. So if you have any suggestions, we had an email from Michael. Michael B said Solar Babies. And I have not ever seen Solar Babies.
I have seen Solar Babies.
Let's do it.
David, what were your suggestions?
I say the Michael B, the Solar Babies. After Monster March, let's start knocking out some of these fan requests.
Yes.
All one of them.
I think we have another. What was the other one that we had recently? A fan request from one of our.
No Holds Barred. That was a request.
That was a request. Oh my god.
Yeah, let's do the fan request in was it April? Yeah.
Yes. Audience April. So if you have any suggestions, let us know.
There you go.
Did you just think of Audience April all on your own right now?
Yes, I did just now.
Hey, well done.
So, yes, if you want to send a suggestion, rvspodcast222@gmail.com. We are now on the Threads. We're on Instagram. We are on Facebook. So check us out on our socials. Send us a shout out. Also, if you want to contribute to the cause, buymeacoffee.com. Look up at the Retro Video Store. And thank you for suffering with us. If you watched The Sword and the Sorcerer, you know what we're talking about.
Yes. And if any of you guys are on Threads, it is the Retro Video Store. Drop us a line there. We need some cool people to follow because right now the feed is bizarre. Very strange. But at least it's a little more sane than some of the former social media platforms that we were on.
Yes. X is not going to give it to you.
Nope. Not going to give it to you. Going to give it to you. Going to give it to you.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Hey, everyone have a good week.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Retro Video Store podcast.